Hi, and welcome to Main Street AI, the podcast where traditional businesses are quietly revolutionizing their operations with artificial intelligence and winning. In this podcast, I sit down with industry leaders from law firms and professional services and other Main Street businesses to explore their AI journey. We dive into the opportunities they see, the challenges they're navigating, and the real impact of AI on their industries. Whether you're AI curious or ready to implement, this show brings you insights from leaders who are actually using this technology to serve customers better, empower employees, and drive profitable growth. Tyler Prime grew up watching his father run a small solo practice. Today, that firm is close to 30 people and one of the go-to commercial real estate boutiques in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. In this episode, Tyler brings a sharp, efficiency-first lens to the AI conversation, including a real-time example from the morning of our recording, where AI found a critical provision buried in a 600-page document in under 60 seconds. He also makes a compelling case for why AI adoption in law is following the same arc as email and text messaging, and why firms that don't get ahead of it will be playing catch-up. He's practical, grounded, and genuinely fun to talk to. Let's dive in. Hi, welcome back to the Main Street AI podcast. This is Stephen Whittier with Satori Coach IO, and today I'm joined by Tyler Prime of Prime, Tuvel, and Maselli. Tyler, thanks for joining.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. Happy to be here.
Excellent. Could you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and your firm and what you do from a high level?
Sure, yeah. Primarily a commercial real estate attorney. We take commercial projects, anything from transactions to entitlements. So if you have a use that you want to get approved, you want to operate a retail store where residential is permitted, something like that, we work on all commercial projects in any facet, New Jersey and Pennsylvania. So we're looking at, like I said, entitlements, transactions, leases, financing, things like that.
Great. And I noticed that it looks like it's a family firm as well. Is that correct?
It is. It was originally started by my father in the mid to late 70s. He's kind of slowed down along the way, but we've taken the reins and really grown it. We've gotten to close to 30 people now, where it was really just a very small solo practitioner shop when I was younger, growing up. So it's been kind of a nice growth journey over the last, call it 10 years.
Fantastic. One of the things I always like to ask is, so you can explain a little bit more about what you do from the standpoint of people that aren't in your area of specialty or even in the legal field. What do you think that people tend to misunderstand or underestimate about the work being done in your space?
Sure. The easiest example is I like to equate with people if I'm at a cocktail party or something and people want to talk about it. Say you want to put in a swimming pool, right? So you look at it from originally, you might have your overall budget of what this pool is going to cost. And then, well, the guy says you need a certain type of fence with a gate. Okay, that's another line item. And then, all right, well, the pool budget was one thing, but you don't have the concrete, you don't have everything else around it, right? So you've got all these layers to your budget. And then the final thing is when you go to the town and you want to get your permits, in certain areas, many areas, the towns, municipalities, cities are going to have standards for how that can be built, right? You might not have enough depth in your yard. You might not have enough width. There might be other restrictions that prevent you from being able to build that swimming pool the way you wanted it to be built. So you would come to somebody like me, and we would help you obtain those approvals so that you don't have to deal with kind of the day-to-day of it. You just leave with a permit in hand, and you're able to construct your swimming pool. So that we handle that type of work. We do handle those, but that type of work on a larger scale for commercial users. They run into the same problem on a different scale.
Gotcha. Makes perfect sense. On the theme of AI and all this emerging technology, what sort of trends, movements are you seeing in the industry right now?
Sure. So I think the biggest thing with AI is the speed at which the technology has improved. I'm a kind of an automotive guy. I'm a car guy. So if you look back at that life cycle, it's a really stark comparison, right? You've got late 60s, people, seatbelts became standard in cars. And then you see, someone our age would understand this, but airbags right after that, anti-lock brakes, all of these things, and really kind of culminating, and I think it was 2018, even rear view cameras became standard, right? So you're talking about this just 40, 50-year run-up of gradually adding features, right? And AI, from the time anyone, layman, started hearing about these type of products and software, And the way the growth has happened, it's mattered in cycles of weeks, right? It's not years, it's not decades, it's weeks, it's months. So the technology, I think we can forecast what we're hoping to see in 3, 4, 5 years, right? But I think the technology is moving at such a dramatically rapid clip that it's really hard to even put our eyes around or wrap our hands around what exactly will happen over the next decade or half decade.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I think back, it's, time is so strange. Like we had the time warp of the whole pandemic and everything, obviously, which was a once in a lifetime, we hope. But then coming out of that, it was, I believe, November 2022 when ChatGPT 3 hit and everything just accelerated rapidly around the whole AI conversation. It really became very mainstream. And to think that that was not that long ago, but yet all the changes that have taken place, for sure, was a pivotal shift in my own business. At that point, what are you most excited about for the potential of AI in your field?
So, yeah, I think it's really an efficiency argument for us. You're not going to get, I don't think, you're not going to get much of a leg up in terms of negotiation, strategy. I think those type of things, no matter how advanced these models get, I think will always be a little bit lacking. From an entitlement perspective, I mean, it's very far-fetched to see, not that it won't happen, but in my lifetime, it's very far-fetched for me to see, a robot kind of appear before a planning or zoning board, present a case and represent a client, right? So in terms of that, I don't really see that being something that we have to worry about. The other side of that coin is, and actually, this is funny, I hadn't planned to talk to you about this, but this morning I had a client send something over to me. It was close to a 600-page document, an old recorded document, multiple, layers and reams to it. The crux of the whole thing was that he said, I know somewhere in this thing, which we signed and recorded 30 years ago, there was a if-then scenario. Something happened. They had to vacate this easement within X amount of time. How much time do they have under this document? And I thought, oh my gosh. Well, it comes across electronically. We have some proprietary software that we've worked in-house, secure, right? Even though this is a public document, we like to keep all of our stuff secure. So I throw it into the software, and within, 60 seconds, it says page XXX, paragraph whatever, and it shows you it's 24 months. So I said back to him, I said, amazingly, it's something I would have years ago or even a year ago would have had to put a junior person in my firm on, look through this thing. It could take an hour or two, right, to make sure you find that. Now you're kind of parsing that out and you're finding it right away. You can highlight that provision, send it back. There's no bill for the client, right? I'm just say, hey, I found it in 2 minutes. It's efficiency. It's just something that makes it really easy to kind of get rid of those low-level tasks and focus on the higher stuff. People are engaging us for, like I said, negotiations, strategy, advice, those type of things. You can focus on that instead of wasting your time on really simple, mundane tasks.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. This has been my recurring observation in the legal domain is that people, if they're not kind of optimizing it for efficiency purposes, they're kind of missing out. But are there any other ways that you're using it aside from that particular application you just mentioned?
We've been, I would say law generally, I think, or people are slower to adopt, right? It seems like more of an archaic type of field. There are software pieces associated with a lot of the legal research tools that we use. Westlaw is an example, giant company most people are familiar with. They have a co-counsel AI integration that will help check all of your cases. So for people who aren't familiar, you write a legal brief, you're basically citing any years of authority where other judges, other courts have ruled in your favor. You're using that as kind of an example, say, hey, this is why our law applies. The issue with these is when you're doing these type of briefs in preparation, there's hundreds of thousands of cases that could be relevant to what you're doing, and you need to make sure that you're interpreting them the right way. Some of these opinions are 60, 80, 100 pages long, and some of these tools that are out there now will check that for you, summarize it. If it looks like it's on point, then you can go do the final step, verify it personally that it worked, and you can use that. So that's a really nice efficiency tool that doesn't cut out all of the work, but it really cuts down on the workflow and kind of funnels it down to distills it to a point where you can jump in, verify it, and use it.
Are you finding too that that's time savings that you can actually pass on to clients as well?
Yeah, so that's the biggest thing. It's not about doing the same repeated task and trying to figure out a way to make the same amount of money. It's using your time for more high level valuable stuff, right? Just like any business, if you're a law firm and you're charging someone to review a bunch of cases, really any attorney can do that. What our clients are engaging us for, what they're using us for, is the things I mentioned earlier: the negotiation, the strategy, familiarity with a certain local government. And if you can focus on those high level tasks instead of the lower level work, it's another differentiator for you. What makes you more valuable to somebody else? You're getting right to the crux of what you're good at and cutting out kind of the baggage.
Yeah, very, very well said. So with all this in mind, if we were to fast forward 5 years from now, do you have any predictions of what might look the same
Sure.
in the field versus what might look radically different?
Yeah, sure. So, kind of on that point, I'll give you another example, and this goes back a little while. But I started college in 2000. So, people who aren't older, my age or older, you'll get it. But that was the first time I had access to high-speed internet. That was a T1 line running through the dorms. It was incredible. You could log on, you could stream music, you could research, you could do anything. The internet was a different place, but you look at that internet there. Email became the standard, and lawyers were logging behind. Right when I first started, people were still faxing things. There were partners you'd see everywhere dictating letters. You would get things days behind. I think what will happen with AI over the next 5 years is that it'll become more of an integrated tool, right? Everybody accepts email as that's just part of your day-to-day life. If you're not involved in using email, something's, way offline. You can't communicate that way. Text messaging, same thing. That would have been grossly unprofessional 20 years ago to text with clients or whoever. Now it's just standard. It's easy. Hey, do you have 2 minutes for a phone call? Yes. That type of stuff's become accepted. I think AI integration, and it will level out, but I think it'll be part of the accepted life cycle. I think clients might even expect that. We'd expect a preliminary contract review to be done with AI and then an associate, something like that. They're going to expect it from an efficiency and a cost perspective, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a great point. I've actually spoken about this before on the podcast. You've probably seen these adoption curve charts with technology, and
Sure.
it's exactly as you're saying with internet, with email. I'll often use that as a basis of comparison. There's always the innovators and early adopters. Then we've got early market, late market, and then at the very downward peak on the other side of the roller coaster is the laggards. And everybody's hanging back. It's kind of like grandma just got her first smartphone.
That's right.
Year. And that's not where you want to be, because when you see something that's inevitable, it's much better, even if you're not an early adopter, at least be part of the early market. Otherwise, you wind up playing a whole lot of catch up.
Sure. Yes.
So I'll pivot a little more back into your practice as it stands now. What would you say that your firm does extraordinarily well that separates you from others that are in your same domain?
Sure. So I think, and for me personally, my pitch is always that I'm going to be, I like to be the most efficient person you'll work with. I'm accessible, in my world, and I'll see it on the other side of things. I'll send emails, I'll send letters, whatever it is. Sometimes people are taking, 2 days to respond to you. And that might be fine for certain groups, but my pitch, like I said, is always going to be speed and efficiency. I think I get back to you faster. I don't ignore you if I don't have your answer. I'm going to get back to you instantly. I'm going to tell you I'm looking at it. I just try to be transparent with everybody and try to be someone who's an open line of communication. I want people in my world to feel like if they're working with me, that I'm there. I'm always available. I'll figure out a way to get you your answers. I will delegate the work internally, but none of that's going to show through to you. I'm going to be your quarterback. You can be able to get a hold of me at any time, and I'll run your whole project.
Excellent. Yeah. That's a big deal too, because one of the things where you're mentioning like the legal field tends to be a little bit behind on some of these things, and
Yes.
It seems like one of the recurring themes here is that there's almost this industry-wide it's almost like going to a doctor's office and you expect that if your appointment's at 11 a.m., you probably get seen at 11:45. And
Right.
in the legal domain, it'll be, might be a couple days before you get a meaningful response back. And I think that's a tremendous advantage when people can really shorten that time frame.
Sure.
Absolutely. So in terms of growth, obviously your family business has been around for decades now. What stage of growth would you say that you're in, and where are you looking to be in, say, the next 12 months or so?
Sure. So we're stable, I think is a good way to put it. We've kind of always grown based on the needs of our clients. If we have, associated workflow areas where we needed to backfill, we would. Whatever really worked for a client efficiency and client service standpoint is where we've gone. I think now it's just smarter growth, right? Adding the right people. Never in your business can turn away the right people. So you find the right professionals. It makes sense to add. But over the next 12 months, yeah, just the same thing, working on efficiency, making sure we have the right people and the right seats on the bus, right? And backfilling where needed. If we have client pain points, like I like to ask clients after working with me, hey, what went wrong? What went right? What would you change? And people are always really surprised to hear that, right? They go, oh, well, now that you say that, I would have preferred if you did this and that or whatever. Well, I'll adjust based on that, whether it's a different piece of software, or whether it's hiring somebody to fill that role, wherever they feel like we're lacking. I want to make sure that doesn't happen the next time we work together.
Right. Yeah. So you're more in optimizing than really trying to make massive moves with scale. If you could wave a magic wand and fix one thing in the business that might be a limiting constraint, what would that be?
That's a tough question. I think overall we've gotten to the point where we're pretty efficient. I think the backlogs in any business to business service are probably pay time periods, right? You work out these agreements with clients or wherever they are. It's always a cash flow thing, right? You're operating a firm, personal service, just like any other business. And you have to make sure you're optimizing that, right? Using the right line of credit, using whatever it is in terms of just maximizing that flow so you don't cost too much and you're able to keep adequately staffed up to best support the clients. It's always a little bit of a balancing act.
Excellent. What I like to do once we've talked about everything from the tech to the business is kind of bring it back at the end here to the personal. When you dig down a little bit, everybody has some sort of motivating why behind what they do that gets them up every morning. At least one would hope. Obviously, we want to see our businesses grow, and we want to see our service be excellent. What would you say is your big why?
Sure, it's a family. So I'm married. Been married for close to 20 years now, and I have two kids: a 13-year-old son and a 10-year-old girl. And it's part and parcel of everything I do is kind of built around that, right? The type of firm that I've wanted to grow, the practice that I've wanted to grow. I mean, even my LinkedIn for heading starts with husband and father. It's kind of the cornerstone of everything I do. And I want that to be in front of me at every junction, right? So I see that, remember that. That's why, you're working hard. That's why you're doing this. It's why you're able to make the sports school games and kind of come and go as you please. And, that's doesn't mean it's easy, but that's the trade-off. Running your own business gives you that flexibility to do those kind of things. And I've always tried to optimize towards that instead of the other way around where you just let the work drag you.
Great. Appreciate that. So Tyler, how can people find you so they can learn more about your services? What's the best
Sure.
way to-
Yeah. I kind of direct everybody through LinkedIn. You can find me, Tyler Prime on LinkedIn. Our website is simple, primelaw.com. And all my information, hopefully, if you possibly, you can just put it on the screen for them to see, but I'll share everything with you. And if anyone needs to get a hold of me, please do. Always happy to talk people through a potential project or a question you have. Always able to make time for that kind of stuff.
Excellent. Really appreciate you coming on today and sharing your insights.
Yeah, thank you. This has been wonderful.
All right. Take care.